Assalamu alaikum students. It's our fourth lab of OOP and data structures. As we have done three labs in this course on campus, and now the remaining labs I will teach you online. So the fourth lab is the constructors, destructors, and passing objects as arguments. In this lab, I will show you that how you will make constructors and then the destructors. These are basically functions that in this lab I will tell you about that what is constructor and how you will what is the syntax of constructor and how you will use it. These are our previous labs which we have already done in this lab, and today is our fourth lab. So the main objective of this lab is to familiarize students with class constructor, destructor, and in this lab I will show you the class constructor, destructor, and the second part of the lab consists of the passing objects to function as arguments and returning objects from function. This lab includes two codes. In one code will consist of the class constructor and destructor, while the other will show you how to passing objects to function as arguments. So what you will do basically in this lab is we will write a C++ program to perform the following tasks. In the first code we will create and destroy that how you will create and destroy local, global, static and automatic objects. I will show you and explain it in the code. And the second task will be addition of two objects passed as arguments, and addition and returning of objects passed to a function. So basically these are the tasks which we will perform in our fourth lab, which is the title of the lab is the constructor, destructor and passing objects as argument. Now coming toward the main topic of our lab is the constructor. That what is constructor? Constructor is basically a function. It is just like a function in a class that is called. This is basically the definition of a constructor, that constructor is a function that is called. The called mean that the function calling. So that function will be called when a new object of a class is created. So as in the normal functions, the user defined functions, we declare them, we define them and then we call it. In the classes we call it with the help of objects, but in case of constructor we will just create the object and the constructor will be called, and the constructor is used to initialize data variables of a class. It assigns there are default constructor in which the data, the variables assigned, we assign 0 value to it, or it is by default. If you declare it or not, they will be initially 0. Mean if you are declaring any data variables, for example a, b or any variable, so initially they will have 0 value. So it up to you if you are writing a default constructor or not. And there is also a parameterized constructor in which you will pass the parameters. So the syntax of a constructor is very simple. It is very simple. That is class name denotes a constructor. Constructor is a function which as we give name to a function of any type what we want, but you will give the name of a class to a constructor, and no return type is used for constructor because constructor is called automatically by the system. So there is no program for it to return anything. There is no return type. You will write no return type, just like a int and void in start of a constructor. When we are making function of a constructor, so you will not mention any return type. By default, constructor is public and with no argument, and it can be overloaded as well. If constructor is private, why it is not private? Because it cannot be called, so the object cannot be constructed, so it will be always in, we will always write it in public. This is the example of a constructor, that how you will write it. Is in this example we have a class name foo, so we just declare a data variable which is data, and in public we write foo and then a small braces, just like a function, but it is same as the name of the class. So this is the syntax for making a constructor. And as initially this data we have assigned 0 to it. If you assign it 0 or not, it will be automatically assigned 0. So this is the example of, so this is basically the example of a constructor, that how you will make constructor in a class. The constructor will be same as the name of the class. Now what is destructor? A destructor is the reverse of a constructor. It is the reverse function of constructor. It is called when an instance of a class is destroyed. When an object of a class is deleted, then the destructor is called automatically. First it will be constructed and then it will be destroyed if we call a destructor. It will be called upon emptying of the memory location storing the variable. As we have created a constructor, so it will assign the memory to the variables, and then after destructor, so the memory will be empty again. Mean it will be called upon emptying of the memory location storing the variable. Destructors can be used to release resources such as heap allocated memory when an instance of that class is destroyed. The syntax for declaring a destructor is similar to that of constructor, mean it will be same the name of the class. You will give it to a destructor just like a constructor, but you will add a tilde sign. This is a tilde sign in front of the name of the destructor. There is no return value. There is also no return value in the destructor, and the name of the method is same as name of the class. Mean you will give the name of the class to the constructor and destructor. But what is the difference between a constructor and destructor? That the constructor will what data variables you will assign in the constructor, so it will assign some memory, but as the destructor called, so it will empty the memory, and you have to use a tilde sign in front of a destructor. So this is the basic difference between a constructor and destructor, the syntax difference. Now as I have told you about that, there is also a difference between a constructor function and a simple function. So you will give the name of the class to a constructor, so then it will be recognized as a constructor. This is the example for the destructor. So the same class foo is used here, and we have declared in data as a private, and then publicly this is a code for constructor, as foo is same as the name of the class, and here we have assigned 0 to the data variable, and then this is the destructor, same name of the class, and then a tilde sign with it. Now coming towards the example for it. So we have writing from the headers, hash include iStream. So using namespace sdt, these are, you will add it. So in this code I have make a class named testing. Then privately I declared a variable, a data variable, a data which is integer, and then publicly I have declared in the class I have just declared the constructor and destructor. So testing is same the name of the class, and a int variable is passed. So this is the testing is the constructor, while the till testing is the destructor. And as you have seen that there is a curly braces and a semicolon, so the class is end here. In this class we have just declared the variables and the constructor and the destructor. We have just declared these things, but we have defined it outside the class. Then we have declared a function. This is the function create, and the return type of the function is void. So now in this code you will be observing the difference between the constructor and the simple function. The constructor is same as of the name of the class, while the function we give it a name of create, but we have also mentioned return type with it, which is void, but you have not mentioned the return type with the constructor and destructor. Okay, then the second term is the testing first. This is basically the object, but this is we have making it outside the main, so it will be a as this is first we will define the constructor and destructor which we have declared inside the class, then we'll be declare the create. So here we have declared the constructor and destructor. So this is the second step after it. Just like name of the class with the scope resolution operator, as you enter it, so a list will be come in front of you, which will be include the declared things of the class, the declared variables and the declared functions. And here we have pass a variable int value, then we will equate the data and value. We will put the value in data, we will assign value to data, data is equal to value. Then we will see out the object and data and then constructor. This is the definition of the destructor, as the name of the class is the testing, then scope resolution operator, and then tilde sign, and then testing. Testing is the destructor, as you have seen here that the testing is the constructor and tilde testing is the destructor. We have same right here the object and then data and destructor. Basically this code will show you that if you are creating different objects, if you are creating objects in main or outside the main, globally or in another function, or if you are declaring if you are creating it statically, so what will be the sequence, how the constructors will be created and at which number they will be deleted. So this is the basic theme of the program. So then we will declare a function create with the return type void, and then this is the object first, which we will create it globally. So this is the name of the class, and with the name of the class we are declaring this object first, and we have assigned it one value. So this one value will become here instead of this data if this is printing. So first this will print and then the destructor statement will be printed if this object is created. So as I have created the object, so the it will be automatically called the constructor. Okay, now coming towards the main. So this is the global created before main, and then this is the second object, this is the third object. This just declare it with the name of the class and just mention the numbers here. And this is the testing the static object. So at the output I will explain you that what will be the sequence. And then here we have called the function create, and then the eighth object, and then the main is this the last statement of the main, return 0. And then this is the function. In this function we have created 5th, 6th and 7th objects. So this this will be come instead of this data, but you can see that we have created objects globally, some in main and some in function. Some objects are static, while some are normal objects which we have already created in our previous labs in classes. So the output will be this is the code, just like I have copied in the slides, that you will start with the headers, then the class, the name of the class is this testing, then you will declare the variable as private and declare the constructor and destructor publicly. Then the second step, we will define the constructor and destructor. You will just see out the variable which we pass in it. But then globally we will declare a function, and then first object. Then in main we will create object second, third and fourth, but second, third will be objects, but the fourth object will be static. And then we will call the create function here. Here we have also declare, create and define the function, and this is the last eighth object. But in the function we have created the 5th, 6th and 7th objects, and in these the 6th is the static. So now I will run it for you, that what will be our output. So this is our output of the code. In this it is clearly the statement which was here. Object 1 constructor, this is this thing, object data constructor. So this is object and the data. If we are creating the objects, if I show you the objects, so I globally created the first, so the first constructor have the one value, this one value, and the global created before main, this is the first statement of the main. Then in the main I have declared the second, third and fourth. So this is the second, third and fourth, but it will not create the eighth one, because then a function is called. This function, call the function, so this will go to the function, and the function is 5th, 6th and 7th. But exiting the function, coming out the function, it will also destroy the 7th and 5th, as it will not destroy the 6th because it is static. It will destroy the static objects at the end. So then it will construct the 8th, the last object which I have created in the main, and then will destroy it, and then will come it to the third and second. It will create in the ascending order, but it will destroy in the descending order. So it will destroy the third, second, and then the sixth static of the function, and then the fourth static of the function. At the last it will destroy the it will call the destructor of the first global. So the global constructor will be destroyed at the end. So this is the basic concepts. That's why I give it the names of 1 2 3, that you have the concept of that what the first the object which you will create globally will be called first. This will be the first constructor, and then it will be go to the main, and then the main constructors will be created, objects will be created, and then if I have called the functions, it will be create that objects of the functions. But at the destruction it will the if the constructors are called of the function, so it will be destroyed first, but in the descending order. And then if is destroyed the functions called the destructors, then it will create it will come out and create the last constructor of the main, and then it will destroy that constructor, and then it will go to the 3 and 2 destructor, and then it will destroy the static objects, and then at the last the globally will be created first and destroyed at the last. So this is the basic concept of our code. This is the output. I have also put it in the slides. So coming to the second topic, which is objects as arguments that can be passed as arguments. The concept is same as when we pass two integers to a function, and after passing did any operation upon it. Class name will be data type of passed parameters. Similarly, object can be returned from function by creating. Class name will be data type of passed parameters. Similarly, objects can be returned from function by creating temporary objects inside function. So coming towards the code of this is the example of the object as arguments. So I give the class name as object as arguments, give it the same name as the title. So we have declared two variables a and b privately, and then our default constructor. We have mentioned nothing in the default constructor, but it is same as the name of the class. Then this is a default constructor, and then overloaded constructor, in which we have passed through two parameters, two integers. We have just declared it in the class, but we will define it in the outside the class. So then a function of add, and we have passed, if you are looking at it, we have passed the objects. These are basically the objects if you are looking at it. So this is the same as name of the class. Basically we are passing the objects in a function. Look, if this is object as argument, this is same as name of the class. So we are passing two objects, and this is a function, and we are passing the parameters are basically objects, not integers or anything else. Okay, then third, and then this function void display, this will just display value after addition. Okay, now coming towards the definition of the functions. So first the overloaded constructor, this is the name of the class, and then scope resolution. There is no, you will not write any return type, as you have not to mention any return type in constructor. So then scope resolution operator, and this is the constructor in which we have passed two values. x and y, and in start of the class we have declared it a and b. Now we will assign this x and y to a and b. And now the function of add, that you have to write the return type of the function and then name of the class and then the scope resolution operator, and this is the name of the function add, and we have passed the objects, and this is x and y. This is the name of the add is the name of the class, and here we have passed two objects x and y. We have also assigned the x and y variables to it, and then these are basically adding the objects. A is equal to x dot a plus y dot a, b is equal to x dot b plus y dot b. This is basically adding the objects, the values of objects. Now I will show you in main that how the values assigned to objects will be added. Then the return type void, and then the name of the class, and then we will display function. This is basically how you define the function outside the class. If you are defining the function inside the class, so there is no need to the scope resolution operator if you are defining the functions inside the class. But if you are defining the function outside the class, then you will use the scope resolution operator for connecting the functions with the class. And here we have just print the values of a and b. Now we will create three objects: object 1, object 2 and object 3. In two objects we will assign values to it, and in third we will simply add them. So for object 1 values, we will just object 1 dot display, so it will display the object 1 values. And then object 2 values, if just we have to object 2 dot display, so it will just display the object 2 values. And then object 3 dot add, if you are adding object 1 and object 2 values, so it will add the object 1 and object 2. We are adding the object 1 and object 2 values and then assigning it to object 3. So the object 1 and object 2 values will be added, and then it will be assigned to object 3. If we object 3 dot display will give us the values of object 1 plus object 2, and it will be assigned to object 3. If we are object 3 dot display will give us the summations of the values. Now I will show you the code of this. This is basically the code. This is the same code which I have put it in the slides. Now this is the output. This is the output. Look, if I am first creating the object 1, so it will give me the values of object 1, then object 2 values, just in function, just object 1 values. Object 1 dot display will gives us this values, this object 1 5 4, and then object 2 values will be 6 5. And then if you are seeing, we have assigned add function to object 3 and add values of object 1 and object 2. So this 5 plus 6 gives us 11 and 4 plus 5 gives us 9. So like this you can add the values assigned to objects, and then you can assign the summation to one object. So in this we have created three objects. In two objects we have assigned the values, while in third we have assigned it a sum function and then display the values of 3. So it simply gives us 5 plus 6 11 and 4 plus 5 9. This is the basically the output of the code. We will if you have you just download the lecture on time and study it, and if still you are facing any problems regarding the code and the output, so we will discuss it in the interactive session. This is the task which you will do as task number 4. This is the task 4. In this you have to create a class called counter, which has one data member. It will have only one data member, count, of type integer, and it will be integer. It has three member functions. Then you will make three member function: the constructor, the inc underscore count, which adds what the inc underscore count will do. It will add 2 to the count, and get will return the current value of the count. So you have to create two objects of class counter and call member functions of the class to increment. Mean you will increment the number 2 at every step. Display value of data variable of the class. So this is basically a task for this lab. If you have any questions, so we will discuss it in interactive session. Hope there will be no problems regarding the two codes which I have teach you in this lab. But if still you have facing any problems, so we will discuss it in the interactive session, and you can contact me also through my email address. Thank you, students.